Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com. It's in the description below. It's your email address for asking questions about this or any of our watches. Email us for pricing, tmosso at the1916company.com. Today we're discussing a monster, not just the fourth generation FP Journe Chronometre à résonance. This is the Black Label. Black Label's exclusive. You only get this combination of blackened gold dial and platinum case with a Black Label model. To get a Black Label model, you have to buy direct from a Journe boutique, and then you have to have a prior purchase history with the Journe stores. How much purchase history? Well, scuttlebutt right now is that you need to have purchased $400,000 to $500,000 from Journe stores before you even qualify for Black Label. As if that were not restrictive enough, only a certain number of each model can be made as Black Label each year, which restricts even the most qualified buyers. Now, what you see here is 40 millimeters. It's the fourth generation of the resonance chronometer, first debuted as a world premiere in 2000. The two sides of the movement, and there really are two independent drivetrains and oscillators, they couple together by resonance phenomena, which improves the timekeeping as well as the regularity of each side relative to the other. 40 millimeters in diameter, the latest resonance measures a reasonable 11 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 48.2 millimeters, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, because the dial is blackened solid gold, the movement is solid gold, and the case is platinum, this is a very heavy 40 millimeter watch. It's really impressive. You know where the money went. Taking a look on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, you can see I've got plenty of clearance on each side, so I believe you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. Over the top always exaggerates the width of the watch, plus I'm pulling the strap tight, so keep in mind I've got a little bit more clearance. The definitive angle is always down the barrel, where you can see how much clearance I've got on each side. And yes, it'll easily fit underneath the cuff. Not super thin, but with a domed bezel, it'll slide under. Taking a look at the strap, we have a blue ostrich leather strap that is a factory piece with a lightly contrasting cyan stitch, a folded edge, and on the bottom, you can see we have leather, calfskin, FP Journe, factory strap, no crimping, no gouging. FP Journe's signature pull tab spring bars. These are used by many of the best brands today. Pop the strap off the case without a tool to make the watch wear better on a small wrist. The lugs are drilled far inboard. You can see how the tip of the lug is actually far outboard of the actual pivot point of the strap, which allows the strap to move further inboard on your wrist and pull around a tight curve. It also creates a more integrated look with less daylight between strap and case, and a curved spring bar is used so you can have that close drilling of the lug without any impediment to the motion of the strap. Journe includes a pin buckle that is made of platinum to match the case. Journe makes his own cases, dials, and movements, vertically integrating to control the process, permit low volumes, and maximize quality. Now you can see this is a well-established case design. Domed case back, domed bezel, mid-case is polished, bezel, case back, everything polished, integrated, that is blended style lugs that turn almost 90 degrees downward from the horizontal of the case with a taper and a little bit of a squared off end, and then the mid case defined by the overlap of the case back and bezel flanges with not one but two of Journe's signature and widely recognized double dimple knurled crowns. Now a big change here compared to the previous resonance chronometer is that previously the couronne de remontage, or the winding crown and setting crown, was up here, which made it difficult to use to set the watch and to wind it. Now it's right here. Major improvement. We still have the flyback mechanism down at 4 o'clock, and I need to explain what this does. So we have 2 seconds hands, and the two sides of the movement will be coupled, that is locked together and synchronized by resonance. But resonance doesn't happen immediately. It takes 7 to 10 minutes to gain full purchase on the watch. So eventually these hands will fix relative to each other, but they will be out of sync because they usually don't fix perfectly aligned. So you use the flyback after the 7 to 10 minute period, and now, just like a flyback chronograph, reset to 60, they are fully synchronized and should vary by less than 5 seconds relative to each other over 24 hours. The dial features Journe's signature dial side assembly screws, which were controversial back in the 90s when he first pioneered the style, but today it's a signature of the brand. It's also universally copied. Now, taking a quick look at the dial, you can see that we have this black polished and mirror beveled steel bezel that surrounds the two dials, and they're sort of paired together almost like cells in the process of mitosis reproduction, the cell dividing right down the center there. We have a 24-hour dial and a 12-hour dial, but Journe learned from the relative unpopularity of the third-generation resonance that people want the two sides of the watch to be at least formally symmetrical, if not calibrated that way. So here we have a dial that is a mirror of its other side. It is bilaterally symmetrical if you cut it down the center. The power reserve indicator up at the top, tracing 42 hours of power reserve. For 28 hours of power reserve, the constant force devices of this watch remain active, and that's represented by roughly the position of the red lacquer. So you just want to keep the power reserve indicator in the white segment, and you do that by winding the watch at the same time every day. Now, this watch can be used as a true travel time because the second time zone isn't a 24-hour format, so you know the difference between, for example, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., and then you turn in the opposite direction and you adjust the other dial display. Taking a quick look at the reverse side, there are many changes. You can see remontoir d'égalité, so 2 of them. And we now have 1 barrel, a big change from the first really 4 series of resonance. There were the first 3 generations in the 2019 anniversary series. The way Journe equalizes the energy to the two sides is that this 4th generation watch now includes a differential, and a differential will ensure equal amounts of energy to each side. So 1 barrel is not an impediment to piping equal energy through each drivetrain, but to ensure that we get not just equal energy, but constant force, Journe uses a remontoir system very similar to his tourbillon, the Vagabondage 3, and the Chronometre Optimum. So this little 1-second jumping action, it is by means of a second locking lever and a linear spring. So for 28 hours, the barrel doesn't actually drive these balances. The energy from the spring releases 1 second, 1 second, 1 second worth of energy to keep the balances at constant amplitude, allowing for incredibly precise 6-position adjustment of this watch. It still beats away at 3 Hertz. It still has fairly large inertia balances, and they're free-sprung to make for precise adjustment as well as shock tolerance. 1520, how do you explain 1520? This is how it works. 15 is the size of the movement in French ligne. So converting that to millimeters, it's going to be 34.6 millimeters. And then 20, representing the year of the movement's debut in this case. So taking a quick look here, it is all rose gold, and it has mirrored bevels, black polished steel components. We have engine turning on the base plate, as well as on the little bridges that cover the escapement. You can also see at center there's a rack and pinion. There's a set screw to freeze the rack in place. You loosen that set screw, and then you use the rose gold pinion to adjust this balance cock, and so you can adjust the distance between them to get them to synchronize via resonance. And then you lock it in place using the set screw. So that's how that works. Now, all this is 30 meters water resistant. Resonance, here's what it does. As with metronomes or pendulums placed in proximity, the frictional losses, the vibrations, the heat emanating out from the individual oscillators will reach the other oscillators in proximity, and they will synchronize to each other. Now, Journe did this for the first time ever with lever escapements and balance wheels on a wristwatch back in 2000. It was his original innovation, a world premiere. And so these things will synchronize. They don't turn in the same direction synchronized. Like this would be synchronized in the same direction. They beat in opposition, and that allows the magic of their self-correcting action. So if the watch gets shaken or due to its position, one of these starts running faster, the other will slow it down. It's literally like a coupling of the two to keep them synchronized and shake off an error that one might experience, because the other is likely to experience that error in an equal and opposite manner. You can see they're beating in opposition, but also the hairsprings are reversed in direction. So they automatically correct. One slows, the other speeds it up. etc. Very impressive stuff. And again, I mentioned the size of the movement because 34.6 is a huge movement, but it also proves that Journe builds the movements to fit the cases, which is the sign of a truly elite and accomplished manufacturer. And again, solid gold movement, gold dial that's been black and platinum case. The mass is incredible. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for pricing.